with Joe Flacco being the fourth quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this year, we were diving into Kevin Stefanski during this game, and then we went over his career. Pretty much started from the bottom at Minnesota. He worked there for 13 years. It was the only organization he had been with before he got hired by the Cleveland Browns. But how impressive is it to have four different quarterbacks and to keep your team engaged, to keep that defense involved, and then to keep your team's morale high enough where when Joe Flacco walks through the door, you're ready to take that next step and not morally defeated?
Yeah, I think it speaks to him. I know he already has a coach of the year. He had the coach of the year, I believe, in 2020. Them being able to win that playoff game with Baker Mayfield, how big it was for that organization, kind of turning a page for how bad they were for really since they were brought back from the in the expansion league. But I mean, between losing Nick Chubb in week 4 and then losing pretty much a third of your roster has gone down to injury, going on the IR. And then you mentioned the quarterback situation. You mentioned Amari Cooper being banged up. Elijah Moore was out in this game. Like all of these different injuries that have occurred, and they're still able to win. Like I think him being able to scheme, him having Jim Schwartz has been a big hire for him. Like not only just him being a great coach, but also the way he's able to surround himself with not just talent on the field, but also the personnel around him.
Yeah.
Because being able to have someone like Jim Schwartz, who has already been a head coach in the NFL, who is a successful head coach, that is, and then him coming in as a DC, being able to kind of take over that defense and elevate what was already a decent defense before, and they bring him to that next level. I think it speaks to him as a man. It speaks to him as a coach, and I think that's why the Browns they're probably the scariest team in the AFC right now. Because we're not. I mean, the Ravens. We know what the Ravens are. The Bills, we have our questions. The Dolphins, a lot of questions there. The Jags, the Chiefs, like every other team outside of the Ravens are extremely questionable.
Yeah.
But then you have the Browns. You know what we can expect from them. You know they're going to probably have a turnover or two, but you're also going to get another one back on the defensive side of the ball.
They're also playing with house money, though.
Hmm.
When have you had a team this good that has this many excuses to lose a playoff game? Like you have a roster this good that you would have had multiple times where you could said if they didn't make it, I understand why. Nick Chubb goes down. Deshaun Watson not maybe panning out yet. He's been injured, but let's see him get accustomed to the NFL and play a full season, and he might not. And then you have him eating up the cap there, and then you have PJ Walker. I mean, XFL MVP. Okay, if you don't make it, that's fine. DTR needs CPR. Okay, if you're not winning games, that's fine. Then you have Joe Flacco in here, and then no one expected anything. They're like, oh, that's weird. The Browns signed Joe Flacco, and then I was like, huh, that's really interesting. The Browns signed Joe Flacco. I think that could be someone that helps him because I think he's a lot better than the other three quarterbacks that have played so far this season.
Hmm.
And then when you're in the playoffs with Cleveland, Cleveland isn't expecting a Super Bowl. Cleveland just is happy to be there because they don't get to see their team that often play past week 17 or 18, depending on what time it was the NFL, how long the games were. But like Cleveland's like, we're just happy to be in the playoffs. And then we have all the excuses not to be there. So we're playing with house money. All the pressure is on the Baltimore Ravens. They have the MVP on their team. They're going to be the 1 seed. They have home field advantage. So all the pressure is on them. And then they can just go out there and play freely. That's an amazing gift you have, especially going into the playoffs.